Thanks for coming in, everybody. And I'm seeing a couple of returning names from yesterday's stream. So thanks so much that you're coming back in. Whatever I was doing, I guess, was enough to keep your interest to come back in this time. So thank you so much. So, yeah. We're officially in it now. We are now, well, I guess technically there's still 30 minutes left till midnight for us, but we're officially in, the anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. Japan is already making a pretty big deal, posting some pictures and videos, and fan artists are already going wild with it, so the timing is obvious enough because we've got a state of play that's happening in Wednesday. We've got those embargoes from the preview event for Rebirth coming in. That's most likely going to break, tomorrow. Everything's happening tomorrow. So tomorrow might be. I'm excited and I'm nervous because I've brought this up many times in my podcast with Uzuki here, in fact, that now I'm reaching a point where I'm afraid to look at new stuff for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because I've seen enough, and I am very worried at the very real possibility that the state of play, which is going to be live stream, is just going to plop a spoiler-filled trailer, without warning. And it's like, let's say the trailer pops up and you're watching, you're hoping you're not going to see anything too crazy, but then something big happens that's like you wish you never saw it, or you decide to just turn away, mute the volume and not look, but then you gotta kind of gauge when it's going to be done, and before you know it, you're missing the next trailer for Death Stranding 2 on the beach or so. So I think, since I'm going to be on shift anyway, I think I'm just going to play it safe and just skip the live stream. And it's really crazy. Every time I'm saying live stream, I'm in my head, I'm thinking life stream. I'm in it. That's for sure. But yeah, might just hold off watching the State of Play live, which I probably wouldn't be able to do anyway because I'm on shift. And then check in with some trusted sources and be like, what was it safe? Is it okay to watch? And then there's going to be the demo. Like, pretty much it's a guarantee if the demo's going to happen, it's going to happen tomorrow. And I'm playing that for sure. I'm not too worried about that. We have a good idea what the demo's going to show, what it's going to cover. So I got no problems about that. But now it's like, dang, since this is now a 3-part stream, will I be doing the 3rd part tomorrow? No, I want to play the demo. I don't know. So with that out of the way, I'd say let's go ahead and get to this. Okay, so previously, in case folks like Uzuki here haven't watched, previously I did a ranking of the Final Fantasy VII characters within the confines of the original game. So if anybody wants a quick refresher, this is how I ultimately stacked everybody up from, at the bottom of this guy Arsik, the next tier being What a Crew, after that is Dawn of the Slums, and then Turks Operative, and then at the very top, Soldier First Class. So, take a look at these results. Be angry if you want. I mean, they're only, the objective truth. I don't make the rules. But, yeah, this is where I ended up. A couple of folks I was actually, strongly teetering with, but ultimately, that's like, I made my peace. And I'd say this is where everybody stands. So with that out of the way, we can now move on to my next tier list that I've created, which is the Final Fantasy VII characters within the confines of the compilation and spin-offs. Now, what I mean by spin-offs, it's pretty self-explanatory, but it's basically any appearance that the characters made after Final Fantasy VII and before Remake. This is counting crossovers like Kingdom Hearts, Dissidia, as well as, the alphabetically named compilation titles like Advent Children, Dirge, Cerberus, etc., etc. Now, I haven't played every entry in which these characters have popped up in, like, before Crisis, for example. There's no way for me to play that, so I can only go by secondhand information and such. But based on what came out in the West, I'm pretty much... This is the list I'm going with. So, just like before, we've got heroes. We've got a lot of returning heroes. We've got supporting cast for the heroes. We got a couple of new faces. We got some old villains and returning villains, and some technically not villains anymore, but kind of morally gray. And we got some expanded characters. We got some brand new, never before seen characters. And I pretty much decided to include everybody here because pretty much everybody that's shown here has already made, or is very likely going to make, a return appearance in the remake trilogy. So that's why I'm judging them now. A couple of these faces have already, like, come back. So, I decided, yeah, might as well just go through the whole thing here. So, my ranking tier here. At the bottom, we got Poor Little Remnant. Above that, we got Dilly Dally Shilly Shally. Above that, we have A Worthy Opponent, which is a line from Dirge of Cerberus, which means maybe 3 of you here know about that. 3 of you who actually played it. Next up is Will Never Be a Memory. And finally, at the top, we've got Living Legacy. I hope you like my creative ranking titles here. Also, I noticed when I was watching my previous stream that this thing here is really loud. So I apologize for the jiggling. I'm afraid that's the only... I'm afraid... For you Twitch streamers, this is the only big jiggling jug you're going to see in this stream. My apologies. Dirge fan number 8 of 19 checking in. 19 is way too generous, but, I'll respect that. But hey, this is my show. For all we know, maybe some picks might surprise you. Let's find out. Okay. So just like before, we gotta start with the main man, of course. We gotta start with Mr. Final Fantasy. So we got... oh no, not this one. Hey, you know what? Yeah. This actually... You know what? This works. Is it gonna get bigger if I... Nope. That's fine. We'll just do it this way. So, funny enough, the first official return of Cloud Strife was not Advent Children. It was actually in Kingdom Hearts. This is the first, proper return of Cloud Strife and the first, 3D voiced version of Cloud that we were privy to. No, I'm stupid. The original, they were 3D. What am I saying? And he technically also had a voice in Air Guides, even though his voice in Air Guides was, battle quotes. And I'm pretty sure it's the same actor, too, for the Japanese version, which is pretty interesting. But, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Oh, your favorite Cloud design. Okay, yeah. So, in the previous stream, I had mentioned how some things don't go out of style. That... You look at Vincent's design, and it's the most 90s edgelord design that could possibly exist, but it's still cool as hell no matter what age you are. And, clearly, Tetsuya Nomura agrees, because he decided to slap that into Cloud here. So, I don't actually know the reason why he did this. My understanding is he really wanted to put Vincent in Kingdom Hearts, or he was really debating between Cloud and Vincent, or he wanted both, but I guess they told him, sorry, no, you can only put one of them. So he's like, alright, I'll combine the two. How do you like that? Hey, this is my game, you can't tell me what to do. And he decided to go with that. And I don't think there's really, like, there was all sorts of speculation about what was going on here. Like, are we looking at a darker Cloud here? I love that one of the Kingdom Hearts tracks, that the name of the track in which you fight Cloud in Kingdom Hearts, and it's also like a standard boss track, is called The Shroud of Dark Cloud. So, you know, intentional pun? Nah, probably not. But, yeah, you know, we thought that maybe there was like some interesting alternate universe story thing going here. But I think at the end of the day, Nomura was like, nah, I just wanted to try this out because I thought it would look cool. And that's pretty much it. And also the whole gun thing would have been a no-no. Which is really funny because eventually they did put guns in Kingdom Hearts, but they're kind of sci-fi guns. But, you know, they could have done that with Vincent. But whatever. Anyway. This is still very important because a lot of what comes out of Cloud's appearance and the interpretation of Cloud in Kingdom Hearts just was a huge influence into how he would be portrayed in Advent Children. And you know, that's real interesting. Like, I don't know if there was like an established story going on here. Like, you know, you play Kingdom Hearts and there's a lot of vagueness about how Cloud is looking for somebody and he lost sight of the light and all that. So there's a lot of debate if there was a planned story there. And I'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But regardless, he decided to give Cloud a much more serious, a much more edgy personality in Kingdom Hearts. And that ultimately carried over to Advent Children, which is the first actual official return of Cloud proper in the confines of Final Fantasy VII. And here we go right here. Okay. Now, let me get a little personal about Advent Children, because Advent Children as a movie, as a film, and as a follow-up to Final Fantasy VII, has a lot of divisiveness. Like, it's still one of the more positive entries of Final Fantasy VII. Like, it's, you got way more fans of Advent Children than Dirge of Cerberus, for instance. Like, Advent Children is, you don't gotta defend it too much. It was a big success. But it was a big success for a lot of superfluous reasons. Number one, oh my god, Final Fantasy VII is back, and the characters are confirmed alive. That was the big one for me. For the longest time, in like GameFAQs and other social media boards, there was an ongoing theory that the characters in Final Fantasy VII died at the end of the game. Because, you know, the whole thing with the live stream, the flash of light, and it shows a ruined Midgar 500 years later, and all that. And it's one of the reasons me personally, I don't like Final Fantasy VII's original ending. In fact, I dislike it quite a bit. I just don't like the vagueness of it. I kind of know what they were going for, but when you're spending 50 plus hours with these characters, and, you know, after all that they've been through, all that they've struggled and suffered and such, you want them to have a happy ending at the end. And, you know, this was not Square trying to do like an end of Evangelion or Sopranos before Sopranos. It was more of a case, from what I've heard, it was more of a case of development time is wrapping up. We kind of gotta wrap this up. So we kind of got a sort of hastily made ending, and I don't think it showed everything that they wanted to show. Like if one of my friends potentially we're living in a post and people are doing something, I would be depressed too. I'll get to that. Don't worry, I'll get to that. So, you know, number one, very happy that Advent Children confirms without a doubt that the characters survived. And we got a new story about that, and so on. But right away, people could tell that we were looking at a much more serious and darker entry, because just this image alone. So, Cloud, I like your drip. I think his Advent Children design slaps super hard even now. Like, just like how the characters in the original game were evocative of the 90s, of the late 90s. This here is the mid-2000s, and what was big on the mid-2000s? The Matrix. All black. Sleek and black and muted colors, and, you know, this is just following that staple, and it works. Again, it tells you quite a bit. It's like, just like by Cloud's expression and what's going on here. Bad times are ahead for Cloud. He's not in a good place. And consequently, that's also why it was amusing that for a good while, I'd say a year and a half, people were still sticking to the theory of everybody died from the live stream, but for some reason Cloud survived. And it's all because of a mistranslation of the original synopsis of Advent Children, where the translation was something along the lines of Cloud standing alone must now face a new threat. And a lot of people interpreted that as Cloud the only one left. As in it's an I Am Legend situation where he's by himself and all that. So of course people were like, Tifa and the others are all dead. They're all dead. It's just Cloud. And right away, I was pushing against that hard. I'm like, you really think they're going to do that? Because the other characters, especially, let's face it, especially Tifa, are insanely popular. And the idea that they would squander that in a movie, a big budget CG movie, that they would squander that popularity is ludicrous. But you know what? It went on and on, so we'll get to that. But yeah, so Cloud in this movie is a sad sack, and that has led to a lot of criticism. Here's the thing, though. This iteration of Cloud is absolutely 100% justified. It's absolutely justified within the time frame of when this movie takes place, which is 2 years after the original. Now, on the one hand, it's pretty obvious if you've played the game that you can piece together why he's miserable. Even though he's living with Tifa and the world has supposedly been saved and all that, you can understand that he's not in a good place if you played the original. Because, Cloud went through some very tragic revelations about his past, and there's people he cared about that he was unable to save. It makes sense that he's not entirely able to move on. But if you really needed to have it beat over your head, it is also why one of my biggest disappointments with Advent Children is that they didn't make that more clear. And if you wanted that extra context, you had to have read this. So what I got here is On the Way to a Smile, which is only the second stupidest title for a Final Fantasy book. But this here is a series of short stories that are supposed to take place before Advent Children, and it's supposed to kind of put the pieces together of things that to give you extra context of where the characters are at before the movie starts. And it's here where you get a very clear-cut answer with Cloud here. Cloud initially started, after the events after being Sephiroth and saving the world, he initially started in a positive, like, I can move on with my life, etc., etc. He was in a good place for a while. Unfortunately, at a certain point, it dawns. It starts to like the honeymoon period is over, and I mean that in more than one. I mean that in more than one way, of course. But the honeymoon period is over, and he stops to like reflect on all the bad shit that happened. And the number one thing, the thing that happens in this book that really hits it off, that really comes together, is when Aerith's mother requests Cloud to deliver flowers to Aerith's grave. That's the moment where he goes on a downward spiral, where it all starts to hit him, the regret and, the misery. And there's, I'm not kidding, there's a part in this book where Cloud becomes an alcoholic, drinks himself stupid on the table. And I really would have liked to have seen that, stuff like that. I desperately wish that was in the movie proper, just to, again, hammer home the state that he's in. But yeah, simply put, Cloud has survivor's guilt. That's all it is. He has survivor's guilt and he's depressed. And then he gets hit with the geostigma and he kind of realizes, this is I deserve this. This is an apt punishment. So Sad sack Cloud here makes total sense within Advent Children. But there's a big problem. And it becomes a decade-long problem. Because this version of Cloud ends up the most current and recognizable version among, the fan base. This becomes the Cloud that they pluck and use in future appearances in other entries, like Dissidia. They take, even though it's supposed to be original game Cloud, he's got the personality of Advent Children Cloud, and he is just a miserable sad sack. An extremely serious, extremely unfriendly version of Cloud that persists in pretty much every appearance he makes, and at a certain point, the fans all come together and agree that it's really annoying, and it's like you're diluting the character because he's supposed to be a more well-rounded. He's not supposed to be like that 24/7, but because this version of Cloud is the most, is the one that's fresh in people's heads, that's what they use. And it gets annoying. It gets annoying, especially in Dissidia. It's maybe the worst in Dissidia. Like, Cloud's win quotes in Dissidia are some of the most razor-inducing, slash your wrists, depressing stuff. Saying things like, "I will not sleep well tonight." Just... In fact, you know what? I think I found it right here. Let me see if I can... Well, actually, no. This video is actually encounter quotes that I'm looking at. I'm trying to find his... I'm trying to find his win quotes, but I guess there's no video that collects them. But his win quotes in Dissidia Original are really just the most crawling in my skin. Depressing. And it also leads to some really baffling story decisions. In Dissidia, Sephiroth shows up and he wants to fight Cloud, and Cloud does not want to fight him. Just straight up, fighting's meaningless. Leave me alone, Sephiroth. Meh. And it's like, what? What? And this carried on almost even 2 years ago or something, when Dissidia Opera Omnia comes out on mobile. And that's the big crossover mobile game in which almost every single Final Fantasy character under the sun comes together. So Tifa is in the party right away. She's one of the first characters you get in the mobile game. Meets Cloud, and Cloud's like, "Oh, it's Tifa." And Tifa's like, "Oh, Cloud, we got stuck in this world, and we don't know what's going on. Hey, come with us." Hey, guess what he says? "Not interested." And it's like, dude. So, it was honestly, at a certain point, it was very depressing. But there's good news. Square eventually heard the criticisms loud and clear. The Nomura and the team, they heard the criticisms loud and clear. So eventually, thankfully, this got course corrected. Also, I also want to mention that in Advent Children, so they make... Okay, I got it right here, actually. They make such a big deal in Advent Children about the climax of the final shot in the movie, where Cloud regains his confidence, and we see some of that. We see him regain his confidence by the end. He's ready to move on from his grief, to the point, but then the song of the last scene in the movie is called Cloud Smiles. And you've got a lot of expectation about that, because it's like, oh, this is going to be the big feel good moment of the movie. That Aerith shows up, turns around, she's walking to the light, turns around and says, "I told you, everything's going to be all right. Live your life, Cloud." And then she walks away. And, this is the part where you're like, okay, here comes the smile. And instead, is this a smile to you? That's not even a smirk. This is the final shot of the movie. What they were building up to, what they made a song for. I guess that counts as a smile. Yeah. So all that being said, unfortunately, I cannot consider Cloud's depictions in spin-offs to be a living legacy. So, but that being said, I still like a lot of what they were doing. The idea of what they were doing, of Cloud trying to get over his grief and all that. I just really wish they did a better job of you know, fleshing out why he ended up there and how he was afterwards. Because the other thing is, the only other time we see him after Advent Children is Dirge of Cerberus, and that's only like a couple of cutscenes, so we don't really get an idea of whether he's truly moved on, if he's more confident or not. He only shows up in a couple of scenes. Now, that being said, still, you know, still does some amazing stuff. Like, his fight scenes the fights with him are amazing in Advent Children. When people told me that he gets what's basically a double Buster Sword, I'm like, no, that's stupid. There's no way. That sword's too big. It's too heavy. And then what ends up happening is he gets like a sword that opens up into smaller swords. And it's like, what a cool freaking idea. And also the fact that he keeps all the swords inside his bike, that he just tricks out and creates an incredible bike that's far and away cooler than the one he had in the original game. Like, where is it? The Fenrir? Oh my god. What a thing of beauty this was. What an unbelievably slick design. And the whole... Now I got lots of swords. Which unfortunately is not found here. But with all that being said... Cloud is... this version of Cloud is not a living legacy, but he still deserves to never be a memory. You think the base version is lame, but every other form is dope. I mean, what do you call the base version? You mean like when all the swords are together? Because that's just, you know... That's just a what do you call? A Lego'd up Buster Sword. Like, no, I guess it's not as cool as the original Buster Sword, but it's still pretty darn cool. I really like the curved one. And I wish I could find a picture. He's got one that's like curved, and there's a sword of that in Final Fantasy XIV that's very similar, and that's the one I use for my Cloud skin. When I use the Advent Children Cloud outfit on my character, I use that behemoth sword, and have him right around Fenrir. Also, by the way, I am really digging this. I'm really digging this. This photoshopped version of Cloud actually smiling. Yeah. All right. I think that's enough. I think that's enough of him there. But yeah, there's where Cloud stands. All right. I gotta tell you, it's really exhausting, and I gotta talk about my two favorite characters back to back. So please just give me just a sec to. I need a minute. Because I'm talking about the Queen next. Gotta recharge just a little bit. Okay, I actually found... Alright, here we go. Just a quick, very brief intermission. Yeah. So here's the fusion sword. This is what it looks like when Cloud's sword opens up into a bunch of little swords. This right here, this one on the far left, this curved one, this is my favorite of the swords. That's slick. That's awesome. Would love to see this make a return someday. Yeah, I really like that one. Also, I noticed that more people have come in, so thank you all so far for coming in. We recently went through Cloud. really went through Cloud, so this is where he ranks right now. And now let's go. All right, let's go ahead and do it. All right. So yes, right away. For those of you who are going to say, you got this picture of Tifa in the old outfit when it should be in her Advent Children. It's like, okay, yeah, I know. Shut up, okay? It just fit. So that's what I used. But, yeah. You know, it's really funny how history repeats itself. Because what happened with Remake, it already happened with Advent Children. Like I said, they were showing teasers and trailers of Advent Children for like a year and a half. And even back then, everybody unanimously, pretty much, where is Tifa? Constant. Where's Tifa? Are they going to show Tifa? Come on, show us Tifa. Is Tifa alive? Come on, show. Where is Tifa? Come on, show Tifa. And then they show Tifa finally, and hey, guess what? Everybody lost their shit. I think I recall hearing that the one wallpaper image of Tifa when she got announced, the one that I just cannot seem to find a proper version right now, but oh, here we are. I remember reading that this was like the most downloaded picture in Japan's Google image search for like a long while. This one right here. The thirst is real. Yeah. Even back then. So the other thing I also find funny is that, you know, Remake Tifa comes out and we had that whole nonsense of the chest nerf and all that stuff that people like got crazy about, and yet none of that happened with Advent Children Tifa. And I don't know why. Because this is like the first like actual properly proportioned version. You know, it's like, this is not FMV Tifa that people were screaming about, that, oh, those are the canonical proportions. Why doesn't she have giant watermelon bouncing fun bags? And it's like, for some reason, none of that happened here with Advent Children Tifa. And I don't know why. Maybe it's because stuff like Twitter and such was not... Was it even around at the time this movie came out? I guess because social media is just more now that became more widespread, but I don't know. She dodged a bullet the first time. So there's also been a bit of a bit of a walk back, because people are like, but you know what? Even back then, people unanimously people loved the Advent Children outfit for Tifa because, you know, dial down the horny. Now people can shut up about this character's only here for fan service, yada yada. It's like, no, this is the proof positive that they were taking the character way more seriously this time around. I have read that they spent the most time on Tifa's design than any other character because they wanted to strike a balance. So they clearly wanted to go for a more mature, more serious, you know, less distracting version. But don't you dare tell me that she's still not, you know, attractive, especially with stuff like this. Don't you dare tell me that they toned down the sexiness or whether it's like, no, come on. And I used to say that, you know, I wish this was her default. Like, I wish they kind of retconned the original game and put this outfit in there. But I've kind of changed my mind about that. I still think it's a great look, but the thing is, this is a great look for after the original game. Because just like with Cloud, it's showing that Tifa has also undergone a lot of shit. And this is like a more serious, more, you know, coming into terms with the events that happen. But, of course, the big thing is this right here, the pink arm memorial wristband, armband here. Right away, people caught this. and everybody immediately knew what it meant. And people were like almost in tears just at the thought of her honoring her best friend like that. Like this here was like the defining thing. And you know, it later turns out she's not the only one wearing that. Like Cloud's got it too and all that. But this, you know, it's telling that this was the first visual representation that we glimpsed. Now, after all that being said, how is Tifa in Advent Children and in spin-offs? Well, the good news is that unlike Cloud and other characters here, they've been pretty consistent with her character throughout every appearance. And that's a good thing. She has always been like within character, nothing like out there or different. Pretty much every appearance that she makes, they strike that balance of someone who's kind-hearted, but will go instant mama bear if you mess with her kids or any of her loved ones, you know? And that's just consistent throughout. Like, I don't need to tell you that what is maybe the most celebrated and iconic moment in Advent Children is, of course, her fight. The fight scene in the church. It's constantly referenced, constantly like recreated and praised. In fact, let me see if I can find it. In fact, it's so iconic and so celebrated that Korea said, yo, I want to just go ahead and steal that. And just did like their own little fan art cosplay recreation here. This video quality is terrible, but you get the idea. It's like, yeah, this was like one of the maybe the most popular and the one thing that's aged the best out of Advent Children. Even though, unfortunately, it doesn't, the ending isn't exactly what you're hoping for, but you know what, we'll get to that. I do just want to very quickly show how, even though Square sued this video Square sued the people who made this video, the people who made the video still deserve props for the way better alternate ending to this fight scene, which I'm about to show. Why didn't it end that way? Man! Do you know the pop-off if this is how it originally ended? If the movie originally, the fight scene originally ended this way? Damn. If you were in like a crowded theater of fans, they would have lost it. What a shame. Okay, so if I have one quibble, if I have one like complaint about Tifa in spin-off appearances, and it's honestly only a couple of them. It's not even like anything major, but it's both. I guess it's basically in books like this. In the books. And anything that takes place within the Advent Children time frame is that she's too nice at times. And I know that's a weird thing to say, but yeah, it's like they kind of lean into the kind-hearted, bartender, motherly aspect. And not enough moments of just letting her shine as a kick-ass mama bear. Like, maybe one of the worst examples, but again, it's a minor thing. It's not really a big deal. But this book right here, this is The Kids Are All Right, A Turk's Tale, and this is the stupidest title for a Final Fantasy book. I cringe every time I say the name. But yeah, this is a side story that's supposed to take place before Advent Children. And it features original characters and such, so Cloud and company are cameos at best. Most of them don't even like show up proper. They just get named. It's like, oh yeah, I talked to some guy named Barrett. So, you know, most of them don't even like get a speaking role. But Tifa shows up a couple times in this book as a bartender, and her role in that book is kind of just somebody for the main character to kind of ogle, not ogle, but more get a little hot under the collar. It's like, oh man, she's hot, but you know, let me make eye contact while I talk to her. It's things like that, and it's like fine. It's like this guy's dumbass teenager or whatever. So you know, it's nothing. They don't get weird about it, but that's also those are like the only things that happen during her appearance in this book. And there's a whole thing where the character here wants to go to Nibelheim, and Tifa is like being a little dodgy. He's like, "You sure you want to go there?" You know, and all that. And he gets the impression that there's more of a story to tell there, but she dodges the question, you know, keeping it to herself. And I don't know, kind of wanted a little more. Now, funny enough, where I think Tifa maybe has, I can recall 2 instances where she has the best spin-off appearances, and neither of them are neither of them are Final Fantasy VII branded. Neither of them are from the compilation. It's her appearance in Kingdom Hearts 2 as one of like the really defining, really cool moments of the character. So Kingdom Hearts 2 is coming around, and you know, we're speculating on characters, who's going to show up and when and all that. And of course, me being a Tifa fan would be in social media being like, man, sure would be cool if Tifa showed up in Kingdom Hearts 2. And you know, naturally people are like, they're not gonna show her, she's way too revealing, Disney's not gonna allow that, and all that really like dumb all those dumb like throwaway stuff. And then Kingdom Hearts 2 comes out in Japan, and the first thing you're seeing is blurry cell phone pictures of like, oh hey, look who it is. Yep, look who it is. And the thing that's really interesting, and once again shows you that Square was aware at this point what a big deal the character was, she was not revealed in any of the promotional material for the Japanese release of Kingdom Hearts 2. She doesn't even show up in the strategy guide, the official strategy guide or art books of Kingdom Hearts 2. And the reason? Nomura said he wanted her to be a surprise. Wanted people to actually play the game and be surprised when she shows up. And, you know, good on him. Unfortunately, the Western release revealed right away, which I mean you kind of have to do because I guess that the cat was out of the bag. But yeah, this version, this appearance here, is one of my favorite because it's playing more on the character's rough and tumble demeanor. And that, you know, she's still like nice lady, but she's also kind of somebody put it best in way back in another forum that she appears like a hurricane. You know, like here. That's just like oh, this is a strong lady, and it's like these moments here are just, you know, super cute. And like, yeah, it's like this is what makes the character shine. Stuff like this. More of this is what I wanted to see. And also, she even gets. Oh, sorry about that. She even gets. Sorry. I'm a little distracted. Unfortunately, I can't find a good quality version of this clip. Because I guess YouTube never came up with a good version. You know what I got? Yeah, okay, here we go. The joys of blurry YouTube footage. But, yeah. This is the only other time up to this point where somebody besides Cloud takes a swing at Sephiroth, and I lost it here. Look at this. She's straight up... Look at this. And it's like, yeah, she's not, doing much, but the fact that she's lasting more than a minute against frickin' Sephiroth here, actually, like, throwing hands, it's like, it's an unbelievably cool moment. Come on, look at that. I don't know a single person who didn't see this and didn't pop off. Just, dang. So, more of that. And I had mentioned that there's another appearance I really liked, and that would be in World of Final Fantasy. Like, that one's like, a cutesy, chibi version of the Final Fantasy characters. But what I really like about Tifa in that one is that they even say this, like, I think they say this in, like, the data entry within the game. This is a Tifa who did not suffer the events of Nibelheim. Like, she grew up a happy life, and now, as a result, she's, got a smile on her face. But she's also, like, battle-hungry, like, kind of like a Goku. Constantly going around wanting to complete her training and kind of causing trouble for other characters. There's a whole bit. I'm gonna find it. Yep, here it is. So there's a whole bit here where she is just, like, causing issues for this poor Tonberry and his buddies. Like, she's just going here, just knocking out monsters. And the Tonberry's like we can't let this happen. And yeah. The whole thing is basically, I want to complete my training. And it's just, it's fun. It's fun, especially this, oh yeah, here we go. Tonberry in the house. That's great. That didn't feel good. Also, I wonder if, like, the link here is that the Tonberry's tail kind of looks like her dolphin tail. If that's what they were going for here. But maybe I'm overthinking it. Okay, so back to what I said. My only quibble is that Tifa is, like, too nice. And in the Advent Children appearances, and you have to look at outside material to see that, she's not... She doesn't let Cloud be... She's not a doormat for Cloud. But I really wanted to see more instances of her, like, putting her foot down and being like, Cloud, seriously, you gotta measure, you gotta step up. And I love the line of, what's it gonna be, a memory or us? And, you read into it, you read into that as much as you want, but that's also why it's very interesting that... So there's actually a deleted scene in Advent Children that they actually had to... Yeah, here it is. So they redid an entire scene in Advent Children because, yeah, it's right here, where it's supposed to be the moment where Tifa is, like, giving Cloud his big talking to, but Nomura felt that she was, like, way too reserved here. Like, see, she just says a couple things, and look, she's kind of doing kind of a shyish thing here. She says a couple of lines, and that's it, and then she's kind of like, ooh, woo, maybe I shouldn't have said that or whatever. So they redid that, and now she's got the much more tough wife scene that comes in, smacking her hand on the bed and all that. Like they said they didn't want her to be weak. They did not want her to appear weak. So I give big props that they redid a whole scene just to emphasize that. I'm still pissed that she lost her fight. But anyway. Yep. Yep. Straight up. Our first living legacy. Incidentally, just as a quick aside, and I hope I didn't lose any users with the... Oh no, I actually got more users. Good. Talk about Tifa more. Got it. Message received. Something I also kind of wanted to mention in the last stream, and this will be the last thing. I'm gonna move on. Don't worry, or otherwise we're never gonna be done here. It's kind of scary how for weeks, several weeks straight, Tifa continues to trend on Twitter. There was that whole Tifa thing that lasted a good couple of weeks. There's recent last week when Harada mentioned about putting her in Tekken, that exploded. And now today, this is a small one, but today we had Ben Starr, voice and actor of Clive from Final Fantasy 16, in Tifa cosplay, which was hilarious. But again, just it continues to keep the character trending. And now we've got what's going to be the big previews event coming in the State of Play. You know they're going to show something. Whatever it is, they're going to show something, and it's like it's going to keep happening. Going to continue the trend. It's like some people have made the claim that not only has Tifa become more popular than Cloud, she's maybe the most popular Final Fantasy character of all time right now. And a few weeks ago when I read that, I'm like, no, come on. But now I have to stop and think about it. Now I'm like, it can't be. Could it? If it's not now, it's getting there. It ain't slowing down. And no, people want to be dismissive. It's not because of Italy memes and porn. It's not. Come on, nobody's gonna have that much of a living legacy just from that. So let's get that notion out of your heads. So maybe not now, but hey, we still got another game after this. We'll see. Oh dang! So I sure talked her up a big. I sure talked a big game with her. What the hell am I gonna say about Aerith now? All right, so I'll get to it. Something I also wanted to bring up in the last stream, but I think now's actually a good time to bring this up. Also, I love that there happens to be Aerith music playing right now. Is that something that's kind of really ironic is how Aerith is kind of typecast for one specific thing, the same way Tifa is often misrepresented for one specific thing. Like for Tifa, it's the sex appeal, it's the FMV boobs and all that, in which Tifa gets typecast and mischaracterized for that. But meanwhile, Aerith is like forever trapped by the fact that she has like the most famous video game death of all time. It's like it defines it's kind of defined the character, and that's understandable, but it's also kind of sad when you think about it. It's what she's the most remembered for, being a martyr. And that's kind of a bummer. And unfortunately, Advent Children and pretty much every appearance of Aerith within the same time frame of spin-offs leans in on that. She kind of runs into the same problem that Cloud runs into at this point, of just taking away the fun aspects, the well-rounded aspects of the character, and basically turning her into FF7 Jesus. Just this angelic, stoic figure. And once again, it makes sense in Advent Children because, this is Aerith in the afterlife and all that. And it's not like she's a complete stick in the mud, like there's still some cute moments. Like when she repeats the dilly-dally, shilly-shally line and all that. But those are like super far and few between. It still largely focuses on the evangelical aspect of what I'm going to call live stream Aerith. And that just like carries over to pretty much all her other appearances. Now, Crisis Core gives her a little bit more because it's teenage Aerith, and that got some divisive results from people. Like, people didn't like that she was kind of bratty in Crisis Core. They also didn't like that. Mainly it was the bratty aspect, but I was totally fine with that because, it's teenage Aerith. It's first crush Aerith. She got whitewashed hard. Even Crisis Core does this too, to a degree. Yeah, a little bit. The thing about Crisis Core, like my biggest complaint with Aerith in that one, is that we did not get enough scenes with her. Like, what we got was good and it was cute, but it still was not a lot. Like, they needed at least 2 or 3 more going on a date with Aerith missions in Crisis Core. And I think that would have like done a good job of better, fleshing out her relationship with Zack and all that. But I remember personally when we're doing the mission of building a flower cart for Aerith, and when we're done with it, she's kind of disappointed. She takes a look and she goes, I don't know, it's not that cute, and I'm like, what? Dude, why you gotta diss my boy Zack like that? He works so hard. What? Aerith, you're being kind of a you-know-what. But it wasn't until later, when you get the text message from Zack's buddy that Aerith's cart broke, and he offered to fix it for her, but then she said, no, I want Zack to do it. And then that's when it hit me. I'm like, okay. It's all just excuses to spend more time with Zack. It's basically, Zack, I want you to build me a better, cuter cart, but, I want us to do it together. So it's like, okay, I get it. I wanted them more to cement why they love each other. Yeah, exactly. But what we got was still legitimately adorable, and it led to, the absolute, still to this day, I actually played it last week. The final sequence in Crisis Core is still a big, it still hurts. It's kind of funny that they managed to recreate the heartache of Aerith twice, but in different contexts. Kind of funny about that. And personally speaking, I don't know how there's anybody left shipping Cloud and Aerith after Crisis Core. I'm pretty sure, no offense to you Clariths, but I have to imagine the numbers plummeted after Crisis Core. Just saying. And while I'm at it, that also reminds me, I really liked in Dissidia Duodecim that Cloud, despite his mopiness throughout that game, he ends up doing one of the most badass things in Dissidia Duodecim, and that's trying to take on the final boss Chaos, i.e. the villain who's so powerful he makes all the other villains do what he says. Cloud tries to take him on by himself and fails miserably, but he does it specifically because he wants to save Tifa from having to endure the endless battles of the Dissidia setting. And it's during his dying breaths that he calls out her name, and it's like, man, really cool of how he's stepping up for his platonic childhood friend of which he has no romantic feelings for whatsoever. I also totally forgot to mention, I absolutely loved, more than anything, what I wanted the most of in Crisis Core was more Cloud. Because Cloud in Crisis Core is such an adorable baby boy loser but he's so like precious that you want to protect him. This is when he still has his smile and optimism, and you get the little moments like how he gets car sick, and how he's like that one drive attack where Zack gets ambushed by monsters, but Cloud like shows up and shoots them down, and you know that Cloud in his head he's like, I helped, I'm helping. It's like, oh god, I wanted more of that. I wanted more baby boy Cloud. I thought you were going to bring up her as an assist. Yeah. I also really liked Aerith. Are you talking about Dissidia? I really liked having Aerith as a striker in Dissidia, and I'm going to be honest. When I added her as an assist for Tifa in Dissidia, and I have her pop up like that, I'm being a little dorky here. Some hit me there. Mainly because that was the first time in years that we had the two of them in the same screen together. And they're like, you know, assisting in this unofficial capacity, but it's like, oh, that hit something deep inside. So anyway, thankfully, better times are coming for Aerith, but as it stands, yeah. Still good enough to be a memory here. Unfortunately, I'm going to be going through a list here where I don't have quite as much nice things to say, because here's the biggest bummer about both Advent Children and also spin-off appearances of these characters. During this time, if you're not Cloud, Tifa, or Vincent, you're a cameo at best. And that's a bummer. It's pretty much, we can't fit everybody into this movie, so enjoy your 5 minutes of Barrett. And that's a shame, because honestly, this is a legitimately awesome look for Barrett. You know, the cornrows are one thing, but the metal arm that turns into a gun arm was goddamn awesome. Sure would have liked to have seen more than that, but unfortunately, no, don't aim me. The metal arm is cool. Come on. He can hold his daughter without the fear of accidentally his gun going off. I mean, honestly, I don't know how the gun arm works. I don't know if, like, does he clench his butt cheeks? Where does the ammo go? I kind of feel like every time he shoots, the recoil is causing incredible pain to his elbow and shoulder. And that's why he's always yelling. Because it's like, this hurts! This hurts so much! God damn it! Yeah, the fishnet shirt is a little. Yeah, I was never a big fan. It's like, that's a little too much. Or are you saying you like the fishnet shirt? I think the fishnet shirt is a little too much, but yeah, not a lot to say about Barrett, unfortunately. Again, he gets a short story in the book here. You like the fishnet shirt? Okay, fair enough. To each their own. I personally think he looks better without it. Just, you know, bare chest, jacket. Kind of like Gladio. I think that would have worked better. But you know what? Fine. Whatever. Anyway, Barrett gets a short story here. And just like with okay. Alright. Elephant in the room. Oil Barrett. Okay, so people like really harp on the fact that there's a bit where he's like super psyched about oil. Because you see, in Advent Children, they're trying to find an alternative source for Mako. Keep in mind, compared to having to use the literal lifeblood of all living things, oil would be a much better alternative by comparison. Let's be real. If the difference is between using the souls of 1,000 unborn babies versus some black goop in the ground, you know, beggars can't be choosers. So I'm not going to harp on him for that. What I find a lot stranger is that he leaves Marlene with... oh, you know what? Well, I'll get to that. I'll get to that when I talk about Marlene. Depends on how he gets it. He probably just found a spot in the ground and just shot at it. Just, give me the oil! Or use some summons. He used Titan. He used Titan, summoned Titan, and just had him lift some rocks. Okay. A worthy opponent. Now, as you mentioned, Uzuki, Yuffie does get a little more, and that's a big personal win for me because, as I said before, in the previous stream, the biggest bummer about Yuffie is that she doesn't interact much with the other characters because she's optional. But here we start to get an idea. It's a small one, but we start to get an idea of her relationships with other characters. So naturally, she cared about Aerith in some way. So she's got the pink band honoring Aerith on her weapon here. So no, in fact, she's got two. Huh? Yeah, she's got two of them. So she cared about Aerith, and also Yuffie gets some good drip throughout the series. I actually have I have her Advent Children figure. I love it. And for a while, that was maybe my favorite Yuffie look, but then Moogle Yuffie came out in Remake, and that completely changed everything. No, straight up, that's top. That's the top. But I still like this one a lot. I like the little floral patterns. I like that they mentioned that a lot of the women in the Square staff helped with this outfit, so that's cool. It's a very cute design and all that. And it's also here where we start to get some ideas about her relationships with characters. Apparently, the people that she's the closest with, if we're going by, the book here, is Vincent and Red. Apparently her and Red there's a very funny moment in the book. Once again, one of those things that's wasted, and I wish it was in something else, where she sees Red, and she kind of does a Red, come here, boy, and Red runs like a happy dog and leaps at her, and she ducks at the last minute, and Red's like, "Why'd you duck?" And she's like, I got scared in the last minute." And it's like, that's so cute. Yuffie should have something that stands out more from Tifa. No, I disagree. I think she looks very strikingly different. Like, it's not even the same shade of black. No, I'm pretty sure. Now, the hair, sure, often make the comments even now that Yuffie is basically Tifa's little sister, but, the outfit-wise, no, I think they're distinct enough. But yeah, interestingly enough, it's also here where they establish that Yuffie is kind of Vincent's partner, kind of his sidekick, and Dirge of Cerberus really establishes that, and I'm sure that was partly done because it's like, well, they're both the optional party members, and I also like that Dirge of Cerberus canonically reveals why Yuffie and Vincent were not in the ending of the original game, because they were helping out with the evacuation of Midgar. And, I find that pretty funny. Obviously, I want them to be part of the team now in Remake. I don't want them to be shoved off in the side. But that's nice. That's a neat little detail that they did to overcorrect. Also, love this official illustration. This one here. Love it. Alright, so naturally, the big question is, are Yuffie and Vincent, people like to ship them, but then, you have to address the fact that Vincent is significantly older. Now, by this point, Yuffie's 18, but it's like Vincent being an immortal vampire man who technically would be in his 40s. Ew, you say? That's how you feel? I mean, they constantly pair Wolverine with Jean Grey, and Wolverine is old enough to be her great-grandpa, but nobody seems bothered by that. So I don't get the when is it not okay. As for me, I don't know. I'm a little mixed about it. Like before, I'm like, it's cute, come on, but now I don't know. Yeah, but when she does, she's in her 20s. Is she? Because I kind of recall that in the original X-Men, Jean Grey was a teenager. By the time her and Wolverine show up, now comics get retconned all the time. I don't know if I should bother with this, but how old was Jean when she met Wolverine? It says here Jean was 15. Want to explain that one? Yeah, late teens. I mean, Jean was. And it did not take... I don't know exactly when Wolverine started having eyes for her, but... Well, anyway, I'm not gonna push it. I'm not gonna push it. I'm not gonna say I want these two to hook up. At the very least, I wouldn't mind Yuffie having like a crush on either him or Vincent. On either Cloud or Vincent. Cloud would probably be the less weird because the age gap is a little closer. And it's like, I don't know. But regardless, these two do have a fun dynamic. Let's leave the ship talk out of the way. They do have a fun dynamic, and based on that one voice actor panel, there's the hopes that that's going to continue, because there's a bit where Susie Young, Yuffie's actress, gets into character and talks to Matt Mercer, and she I forget what she says exactly, but it's like, stay in your lane, old man. And I'm like, oh, I hope that's a hint. I hope that's a hint of things to come. So, anyway. I'm still not a fan of how Yuffie's kind of a joke character in Dirge of Cerberus. She's kind of clumsy. Doesn't really get a chance to be cool in that one. But that aside... You know what? More Yuffie is never a bad thing. So there. They can just be friends. Yeah, like I said, it's fine. I'm not pushing for it, but we'll just have to see what they do with it. I mean, did you see the maid outfit that Yuffie got for Ever Crisis? That's already like stirring like some discussion and all that. They kind of have to be a little careful here. Because I feel like Yuffie is one of those characters that, either A, you were a teenager by the time Final Fantasy VII came out, so it was fine back then, or B, people don't know her age. They make assumptions. Yeah, I think it's mostly on the cute side, but maids, don't be weird about it. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying that... Yeah, so we're going to move on from this. So, like I said, all I'm saying is... Whatever they decide to do, I hope they're careful about it. Leave it at that. Sid. Okay. All right, I'll give Sid one thing. I'll give him props for being one of the only character in Final Fantasy VII to be confirmed married. And that's pretty damn sad in hindsight, for more than one reason. But that's how it is. He is confirmed married. Married Shara, named the airship after her. He's just boring outside of his appearance, but I'm not sure what you mean by that, because he gets one appearance, and that's it. He's your shopkeeper in Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, I mean, hopefully he's now a decent wife guy. Yeah, he also shows up in Dirge, but again, doesn't do much. And I kind of got mixed feelings about that they went for the kind of cornball Texan accent with him. Kind of thought maybe it was a little overdone. We only heard him once in remake, and it sounds like they've balanced that a bit better. Doesn't quite sound as yee-haw, corn poke, yo, yippee-ki-yay, whatever. So, yeah. Unfortunately, like, yeah, Sid doesn't... In fact, if I recall, Sid is like the only one who did not get an Advent Children figure. Did that change? I'm gonna check. I remember like people were complaining, like, why is Sid the only one who didn't get an official Advent Children figure? Let me see if they... Okay, he got one. But I remember this was like years after. Yeah, he did get one. And funny enough, it comes with a little Kate Sith. No, yeah, the outfit's different. It's a different top. Well, okay. I think I get what you're asking. Is it just the shirt underneath the jacket? Let's double check that. It's really hard to tell because he's got his scarf in the way. I'm trying to find like a high-res image, but... Huh. Honestly, it's really hard to tell. I'm pretty sure the pants are different though. And, you know, the gloves are... He's not wearing glove. His gloves are smaller. So, you know, I'll go ahead and chalk it up to different top. Sure. I mean, funny enough, you can tell in one scene that Tifa is still wearing a white top underneath the Advent Children outfit. I don't know if it's the same shirt she's been wearing. Hope she's... You know, I hope they have laundry in the world of Final Fantasy VII, because... Yeah, like I said, it's hard to say. It's hard to tell from the artwork here for Sid, because he's got the scarf in the way, so I don't know. But regardless, dilly dally shilly shally. Now, it's with deep regret. I'm going to make this a quickie. It's with deep regret that unfortunately Red 13 is one of the most cameoed of the cast. He doesn't get much. He shows up in the background in the ending of Dirge of Cerberus. That's how little he gets. And it's also extra funny that he gets one line in Advent Children, and they specifically said it's because they said it was extremely difficult to get the dog mouth animating the dog flaps. So this is going to be relevant in my next stream, but Red 13 is a legitimately cool design that unfortunately is hindered by limitations. Yeah, and you know, hey, you know, we meet his mate in Before Crisis, and that's the only time she ever shows up. But it's like, if you're wondering where did the cubs come from, it's like, yeah, there is an answer. Yes, I'm also happy Remake is doing more with him, and that's something I'm going to be bringing up when we get to that. But yeah, unfortunately. Nah. Yeah. Ironically, Kate Sith gets a little more because of Dirge of Cerberus. But honestly, his appearance in that game raises more questions than answers. Like, I talked to you, Uzuki, before in a podcast, and you didn't believe me, but I'm telling you, they never say his name. Even once. even in Dirge of Cerberus. I'm kind of lumping Reeve with him because there is a cute bit where Vincent calls out to Reeve, and both Kate and Reeve look at him at the same time. So I'm like, how does this work? Yeah, you recently watched the replay. Yeah, they never say his name. And if you're a Kate Sith hater, you probably got some enjoyment that in Dirge of Cerberus you can kill him several times. And he actually keeps count of the number of times he dies. Like, he'll show up in a cutscene and be like, number 9, here to shine, or whatever. So, you know. If that maybe gets some of you to try out Dirge of Cerberus, well, there you go. I think Reeve just got a brain implant. Nah, man, it's magic. It's magic. No, seriously, it's magic. I'm sure it's magic. Anyway, yeah. The other funny thing about Kate is that he's another character who is affected by limitations because they have him riding on top of Red in Advent Children, and it's cute and all, but we all know the reason why they did that. We know the reason they did that is because they were making that movie and they're like, we're gonna have our characters doing Dragon Ball jumps everywhere and all that. What are we gonna do about this stupid fat cat? Oh, we're just not gonna use him. We're just not gonna use him. Nah, screw that thing. We're just gonna have Kate ride on Red and it'll be funny. And meanwhile, I'm here. I'm like, I missed the Mog. Come on. It had its uses, I think. No, you're wrong. No, I disagree. And if you come on, you saw the remake. You saw his footage in remake. Nah, I'm Team Fat Mog. I would sooner have the Fat Mog come back than Kate. How about that? Well, anyway, another dilly dally, or Well, folks, here it is. My first. I gotta think about it. I'm gonna do this, but then I'm gonna justify it and put Reeve here. Because at least with Reeve, they do some extra stuff with him that makes him a little more interesting. But unfortunately, they don't follow through with it. So this is and again, this is super in the background and not even mentioned in Advent Children. You have to read, again, the goddamn book, or you have to have played Dirge of Cerberus. But after Shinra collapses, Reeve makes his own Shinra. He makes what's called the WRO, the World Regenesis Organization. And the purpose of WRO is to restore the world. But by the time it gets to Dirge, and then you read Denzel's story, which is the furthest. Canonically, Denzel's story in this book is the furthest the FF7 timeline goes after Advent Children. It's like 1 year after Dirge. And we get the implications that Reeve is taking his organization to a more morally dubious level, where he says WRO used to be about restoring the world, but now we're just straight up an army. Yeah, it's a defense company after that. Yeah, like it's straight up an army. And, you want to trust in Reeve because he's the one good Shinra guy. He's the one Shinra exec with a soul. But you still, still some stuff there. Where you're still like, huh, I wonder if they're ever going to, address this. And the answer is not anytime soon. But he gets a little more. Okay, so I mentioned Marlene before. I mentioned before that most of the things that make Marlene interesting are her relationship with the other characters, not so much her. Now it's super cute that she's got the braid here in remembrance of Aerith. Even though I mentioned in my last stream, she talks to Aerith once, hangs out with her for maybe 10 minutes, and apparently that's enough to make her this influential person in her life. But more than anything, I'm a little confused about Marlene's thoughts in by the time Advent Children comes along, because how do I put this? So, her dad is established. Barrett is her father. And that's not going to change. But is Tifa her mother? In the Tifa story in the book I've been showing over and over, Tifa says definitively that Marlene is my daughter. That's how she feels. She considers Marlene her daughter. But how does Marlene feel? It doesn't really come up. And also, what is Cloud's relationship to her? Because if Barrett's her dad, is Cloud her second dad? My two dads? These are my two dads and my mom? I kind of would have liked a little more clarification on that. And what about Denzel? Is he strictly in the brother spot, or is the idea that maybe years later they could grow into something more? I would have liked a little more clarification. Cloud is the weird, awkward uncle. Yeah, sure. And honestly, I would have loved if she just called him Uncle Cloud, just to, put that out there. Uncle Cloud, Daddy, Mama Tifa. In fact, yeah. And I guess she never... That's the other thing. I guess it never occurred to her, because she is 3 when Tifa takes her in, She is a baby. Did she never, not once go to Baron and be like, Daddy, why aren't you and Mommy together? Or did Barrett have to, drill it into her head, that's not your mom? I'm very curious about that. How that whole relationship works. The fact that in that little age she can make the distinction of who her dad is, and that Tifa is just Tifa, Okay, so that all being said, kind of put her in the same spot here. Dilly dally. I'm gonna ignore that comment, Uzuki. I mean, okay, I guess I gotta say something. I don't like the idea of these two being shipped. And I can't exactly say why, because it's not like Barrett is massively older. It's just, I guess, it's weird because the fact that she took him and Marlene in and saved them both, took them out of poverty, I don't know. Kind of makes me think that he would consider her untouchable, and he's just more acting like a guardian. A big brother of sorts. The idea of the two of them, it doesn't strike well with me. Not just personality wise, but also the semantics, I mean, maybe it's just me. Wouldn't it be a little weird if, let's say, you're a single father and you're homeless, and then this sweet girl takes you in, gives you a home, and it's you kind of don't shit where you eat, I guess? I don't know. Yeah, they're just good friends. And frankly, there's enough shipping going on. We don't need that another... Yeah, come on. No. There's enough of that as it is. Let's not complicate things. Now, okay, Denzel. Uh, One of those names that's like, I just find it so funny because it's probably exotic for Japan, but it's just such a... When we say his name, we're obviously thinking of the same guy. So, you know, I just can't help it with Denzel, but I just find it funny that Denzel is a good example of how Advent Children very desperately needed more time to flesh things out, because I guarantee a giant chunk of people were all wondering, who the hell is this kid? Where did he come from? Why is he living with them? Because the original movie doesn't tell you anything. They were expecting you to read this book to find out, but clearly not enough people read the book, because Advent Children Complete comes out, and it adds an anime episode that covers Denzel's story, and B, adds a flashback in Advent Children to of the same story. They had to tell it twice to let you know where the hell this kid came from. And I find that pretty funny. I also find it an absolute tremendous waste that they did not make the Tifa story the anime episode. I feel that was way more important to do. The Tifa story literally has the epilogue that Final Fantasy VII was missing, where they all return to Aerith's grave. And you get this whole bit where Tifa said that she was holding back her tears because she was focused on beating Sephiroth, but then coming back to Aerith's grave, she lets it all out. They are best friends and I love them. Anyway, the other thing about Denzel is I feel that we dodged a bullet, because maybe this is just me, maybe I'm just speculating here, but I really do feel that at some point they seriously thought about doing a time skip story with Denzel as the new main character. I guarantee that they were considering this. Especially because... Let me see if I can find it. Hang on, I'll find it. Maybe I won't... Oh, yeah, here we go. Look at this key artwork here. And he's holding this, like, rusty pipe, but he's obviously holding it like a dragoon. And it comes back in Advent Children as well. Like, I guarantee this was something they considered. They're like, let's do Final Fantasy VII the after years, and let's make him a lead. You would have been okay with that. No, I would have hated that. I would have hated that just because I don't have I would not have the confidence that they would have handled it well. Maybe now that they've gotten so much better with their storytelling and characterization that they could have pulled it off, but back then they would have flubbed it. It wouldn't have worked. And they realize nobody would have been happy. Nobody's going to be happy about an FF7 sequel that does not have the main cast as the front loaded characters. It's like, hi, we're going to do a game where Cloud is like in the background. No, come on. It's stupid just to consider that. Also, it would have been a personal frustration for me if, let's say, 30-year-old Cloud and Tifa, and they still refuse to elaborate if they're, you know, if they're a couple. If they were still going to do the thing of, like, she's in the bar in her 30s and Cloud is like over there still being mopey, I'd be like, oh, fuck this. Fuck everything about this. Now, I will say one thing that would have made the time skip appealing, and that's the idea, and you know, makes me a little sad that there's no fan art about this, but picture this. Time skip Marlene, who is both healing magic and martial arts. Part white mage, part monk. Right? Now that's some, yeah. Got the braid, but also got the, you know. Yeah, and I give her a gun too. Just full on marksman, just master of all trades. And she routinely quotes Cloud. Like, she'll try to do the wind, no. Denzel's the one who would be acting like Cloud. She would be acting like Barrett. She'll let out swears, and Barrett's like, Marlene! Come on, Dad, I'm just copying you. But you, baby girl, I don't want you to copy me. Yeah. Well, now that I said all that, now I kind of want it to happen, but only if Cloud and Tifa are confirmed husband and wife. And as another aside, putting it into the constant family aspect here, it's also why I see a lot of this, which I'm going to forever wonder if the author of Spy Family, like, I've tried to look it up, I can't find confirmation, but come on, Yor is Tifa's twin in almost every aspect, and Lloyd just happening to have blonde hair. It's like there had to have been an influence there. There's a bit in one of the episodes of season 2 where Yor is down to a tank top, into like a black dress, and she's fighting, and it's like, oh, and her hair is down. It's like, come on. Don't tell me that you would ask the author and he's like, Final Fantasy VII? Nope, never played it. So where the hell was I going to put this guy? Yeah, I'll put him here. He has a little more going for him. The problem is it is just so severely underutilized. And, you know, no, I don't think he's ever going to make main character. He's ever going to get, like, that privilege. I think that ship has sailed. It's like, no, it's always going to be Cloud. But that doesn't mean I want him erased from the timeline. I don't know if he's going to show up in any of these games. I don't know. We'll see. Good God, I'm not even halfway done. Alright, well, fortunately, I can speed through some of these. Also, I'm getting way more people today than I did yesterday, so that makes it worth it. Want to thank everybody who's watching so far. Okay. So, Kadaj has an awesome design. Like, I took one look at him, and I'm like, he's basically young replacement Sephiroth Jr., whatever. It's like, nah. He totally works. The design is legitimately cool. I love that he has like a fencer style. We don't see it too much, but he fights basically like a fencer, and I think that's super neat too. And I think he totally works as a one-off character. Like I don't need him to be like a returning threat or anything. As a one-time movie villain, he gets the job done. The only thing that really sucks about Kadaj is they had the perfect, easiest to explain way to introduce him into the story, and instead, for some reason, they went for a more complicated, vague explanation instead. So I don't know if I can find it here. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it here on the artwork. There's this one concept art. No, this website doesn't have much. So there's a concept art here, and I think it was this one, where it listed Kadaj as lost number. And if you played Final Fantasy VII, you know exactly what that means. That it's my belief that the original plan was that Kadaj was going to be one of Hojo's experiments. One of the one of the hooded people. Like maybe he experimented on a child orphan, and he succeeded. Like he was compatible with Sephiroth genes or whatever, and he came out like this. And that just would have made way more sense. And then, it's like the movie's called Advent Children, and it's like here are the advent of these children. It's like that must have been the plan. It makes way too much sense, but instead they changed that and went for this extremely vague. Like the movie does not do a good job explaining what the hell he is. You basically had to look up outside material. And long story short, he's basically Sephiroth's leftovers. He's basically, oh man, I couldn't possibly finish the whole Sephiroth lasagna, so I'm going to put it in a box and put it over here. And then I'm going to microwave the lasagna and it expands. That's what he is. He's the leftovers of the Sephiroth lasagna. He's probably not a big fan of Mondays either. So, I really wish they went for the much more easily explained origin than just be like, he's just, I mean, it's just like here, he's the poor little remnant. Now, I do like the idea that canonically he hates Sephiroth. Like, it's weird because he keeps calling Cloud brother, because they share the Genova cells, but it's like, wouldn't Sephiroth technically be also his brother? Or uncle, twice removed, whatever. But it's like, no, he regards Sephiroth as a separate individual, and he hates him because it's like, man, screw him. I'm the big G. Mama Genova will praise me, and that's why I love in the opera Omnia that you get a cutscene where Sephiroth meets Kadaj, and Sephiroth just talks shit. He's like, it's you. The leftovers and all that. And Kadaj is like, no, shut up. I'll show you. So yeah. And still to this day, I want to have a proper boss fight with Kadaj in a game. And before you say you did get one in Remake, that did not count. I want an actual fight with Kadaj. Either in Kingdom Hearts or Advent Children as a video game, which honestly has a very real chance of happening at some point. Meanwhile, his brothers, the next member of the Sephiroth crew, Laz. They only say his name once, but anyway, so I kind of, as stupid as it is, I liked the idea that he's a crybaby. It's just so off-putting and weird that the biggest, buffest guy in the group is like literally a child. And they said that that's because these three are supposed to represent Sephiroth's emotions. Like Kadaj is, I forgot what they said about Kadaj. It's either him or Yazoo that one of them is the cruelty of Sephiroth, but Laz is supposed to be Sephiroth's love for his mother. And that's why he's a crybaby. But it still led to some funny moments where after Tifa lays a beating on him and he answers the phone and he yells, "I'm not crying!" I thought that was kind of funny. But that being said, he existed to be the jobber to make Tifa look good, but spoilers, what a twist. Tifa was the jobber the whole time, and that's one of my biggest gripes with Advent Children. It's like, it's her only fight in the movie and you couldn't give it to her? you had to make it that Cloud be the one to take on all the bad guys by himself. You know? You couldn't give her one. And that's like my biggest beef. But it's not specifically of... Wrong one. It's not specifically of the character himself. So the character... he's just a big dumb idiot. But it's like, yeah, sure. It's enough to make him get by. Who has it a lot worse is Yazoo. Because Yazoo doesn't really get anything. And... honestly speaking, I think of the three brothers, he's like got the second best design. Like, I think he's got like a really cool look. He had a cool voice and all that. But they absolutely dropped the ball with him in the biggest way because... Alright. I'm sure every single person, when you saw these three guys in the trailer, all came to the same conclusion. Sword guy, gun guy, fist guy. Well, obviously, they're going to get paired up against sword guy, gun guy, and fist girl. Like, duh! But it doesn't happen. Vincent and Yazoo never square off. And it's like, what are you doing? How are you not having a cool gunslinger gun off? Shoot nanny. That's not a word. A Mexican showdown. Just pew pew pew. How does it not happen? And that's why he's a poor little remnant. That's why he's a poor little remnant. They weren't on that Durjan versus Weiss tech yet. No, shut up. Come on. That movie had plenty of gun action going on. It's just that they just wanted Cloud to be the one to be dodging bullets and just slashy at him. You're telling me you couldn't have the two gun guys meet together? Oh yeah, and also, Weiss uses a sword. I mean, it's a gun blade, but... Anyway. So just like before, just like the last stream, I have to save this big fish for the end. Just to spur me to speed things up. So I got kind of... I got kind of mixed feelings about the Turks. Well, okay, no, actually, this is a tough one. Because the Turks get represented in different ways throughout the different compilation games because of time frame. So this is a little difficult. So starting with Advent Children, Reno and Rude are... They're the lovable scamps. They're the lovable scamps in Advent Children. They're kind of the comic relief, but they still pull their weight. And you do get some funny bits, but also, like, you know, you get some bits where they're in the chopper, they're throwing dynamite, they're pulling their weight and all that. And that's cool. Like, more than anything, it's just Turks fan service. And that's totally fine. And also, you know, again, something that they have to add to the complete version is the extra monologuing in which the Turks feel genuinely like a bit of regret over their actions and they want to do better, you know. And that's admirable and all. But I still have big beef with one specific scene from Advent Children, and it's when Tifa answers the phone and you know it's Reno that she's talking to, Her reaction is giggling and saying, "Yeah, I remember you," as if it was like seeing an old friend or something. And it's like, this is the guy that pushed the button that killed all them people. Now, their interactions with Cloud are a lot better, because it's like Cloud is keeping his distance from them because there's a tenuous truce with the two of them, which is where they landed in the original game. So that's fine. It's more like, we're doing a truce, but we're not friends. But that's what I mean when I said before that Tifa's too nice in some of these appearances. So that's a big negative. But that said, there's also Before Crisis, which I didn't play, so I can't mention. And they barely get anything in Crisis Core. They're a little bit interesting in this book here. In this one, Reno and Rude are prominently featured. Actually, all the Turks are. So, if you like your Turks interactions, there's some decent stuff here. So, I think that's enough to put him in Dilly Dally Shilly Shally. And Rude is pretty much... they're pretty much tied by the hip in all these appearances, so that's why I'm putting them both together in this time around. Rude does get extra points for the very funny bit in which his glasses get stepped on and broken, and he immediately pulls out an extra pair of glasses. It's like, yeah, that's pretty good. Pardon me a moment, I gotta refresh the music. Okay, then. Yeah, so they're tied by the hip in their appearances here, so I'm putting them both together. Unfortunately, the other two who are also tied in the hip, but are unfortunately misrepresented way worse, are Sung and Elena. So, right off the bat, I remember watching Advent Children and being extremely confused. Because, wait a minute, didn't Sung die? And it turns out that, no, his fate was supposed to be ambiguous in the original, but the translation made it sound like he died. Like I remember that the old translation was something like Elena saying, "How dare you off my boss?" So, you think he's dead. And I remember other people also being like really confused, and it had to be like, oh, turns out no. In the Japanese version, it was more ambiguous, that he was injured. So it's really funny that years later you get the confirmation that he's alive, but it's when he's also on the verge of death. This guy gets it rough. And sadly, Elena also gets it really rough, and in kind of a really like messed up way. Because the line that Vincent says is that they were both brutally tortured. And I'm like, damn, why are you doing her dirty like that? Why are you being so mean to Elena? And that's why, again, consistently, just like here in my previous chart, Elena never ever gets a chance. She never gets a chance. Just forever bottom tier. Which is why in the single trailer shot in remake is the best that she's ever had, because she's a boss fight. And comes in with Rude saying she's a Turk. You take her seriously. That's all. That's more love than she's ever gotten in the entirety of her career. Maybe in Before Crisis she got a little bit more, but again, I didn't play it. I don't know. Now, somebody I consider a lot more interesting is Rufus here, because I remember when they were teasing in the Advent Children previews, they were all saying, "Hey, somebody you thought was dead might still be alive." A couple of people have been like, "Aerith?" but everybody else was like, "No." And when they showed the guy in the wheelchair, pretty much everybody came to the same conclusion. Pretty much every single person. It's like, that's Rufus. And sure enough, it was Rufus. And I also really love the bit where Rufus is actually telling Cloud how he survived, and Cloud is interrupting him, saying, "I don't care." That part was so funny. He's like, so I managed to avoid them. Cloud's like, "Shut up, I don't care." Now, that being said, I really like Rufus in Advent Children, and pretty much anything that, and also in the book, the kids are all right. I really like Rufus in this. In fact, I'd say he's an improvement from original here. Where did I put him originally? Huh. Well, he probably would be in the same spot here. But what I really like about Rufus is that it's the natural evolution of how he was in the original, where he's a villain, but he genuinely knew that Sephiroth was the bigger threat, and wanted to fight against him. And this is where they reach the ideal truce, where he's actually helping Cloud and the others. Like, he says, we're trying to be better, but there's still that little bit of maybe not, because Reno lets it slip that he wants to rebuild Shinra. So there's still, he's still holding his cards close to his chest. And I kind of like that. It's like it's like that gray area of, like, technically he's doing better, but if the opportunity struck him, he might turn on you guys, But also the fact that he still got cured of Geostigma at the end. Now, some people interpreted that Aerith is personally acknowledging that Rufus is a changed man, or maybe that the Geostigma just was neutral. It didn't matter. But that being said, I like the dynamic that I like what they were doing with Rufus, and I also like the little, pretty much the admittance that Rufus is privately funding WRO. Because Reeve mentions that they get funded by a mysterious benefactor, and he says it's probably somebody who feels that they owe a debt to the planet, and it's like, it's Rufus. So, yep. Worthy opponent. I just realized I'm also going to be saying a lot about Zack here, so I'm shoving him down here. Alright. Now we're at the Crisis Core crew. I think this stream is actually taking longer than my last one. Jeez. I can't believe I thought I could do all three of these in one go. Once again, I'm seeing a couple more users coming in. Thank you so much for continuing to stick with me. Now we're at the Crisis Core, the Crisis Boys. So, having recently gone through it again with Crisis Core Reunion, I am gonna have to make the controversial claim. Yeah, I'm gonna say it. I think Crisis Core has the worst story of the compilation of Final Fantasy VII entries. Yes, even worse than Dirge of Cerberus. Because at the end of the day, Dirge of Cerberus is just new bad guys for Vincent to fight. There's not a lot there. I mean, there's a couple of dumb bits, but Crisis Core... No, let me explain. Half of Crisis Core is the worst story in the compilation. Half. I didn't play before Crisis. I don't know what happens there. And frankly, the stuff I heard about before Crisis sounded pretty interesting, like the avalanche before Barret takes over and all that. Like, I don't know, it sounded pretty cool. But anyway. I'm gonna get through each one, and maybe this will explain better what I'm trying to get at. Angeal, and I just realized I should have maybe had this ready to go. I can't believe this website is still around. But let's just go. Let's do this nice and proper. It's weird that this is the only artwork of Cisne. Huh. That's a little odd. But anyway. All right. So straight up, I think Angeal's okay. His design is okay. I just would have changed the hair to a different color because he looks like Zack's older brother. Maybe that was intentional, but I would have done a little more to differentiate him. Just looks way too similar. Makes him look like a somewhat blander Zack. I would have done something a little different. Maybe give him a full beard or something. I don't know. To better differentiate the two. But that's a minor thing. Now, I like Angeal's interactions with Zack. I do like that bit where he pulls out the sword to save Zack from the first boss fight. And yeah, I know Zack's copying his look. Yeah, I know that, but I still would have. Yeah, all right, I know. You're not wrong. Maybe I'll take back what I said. I don't know, but anyway, I like the bit where Angeal saves Zack using the sword, and he goes, "You're a little more important than my sword, but just a little." And they have some fun bits where he's not like the super tough teacher guy, that he's willing to like let his guard down a little bit. And a lot of that you see that in the memories, the DMW memories. You see a lot of that. And you know, they're fun. They're fun. The problem is when it gets to his origin as one of the Sephiroth boys, one of the Hojo experiments, that's where I kind of roll my eyes. And it's like they're not clear where he's constantly teetering between being on Zack's side or not, but then you have to fight him in the end. And I guess what they're going for is that he didn't want to be a monster, but he has to have Zack finish him off. I guess it's a little weird. Little messy there, and it's but still, you know, there's some good bits. So just enough to put him in dilly dally shilly shally. Oh dear God. Okay. I'm getting tired just looking at him. So first thing off the bat, I want him to show up in Remake just so people can finally shut up about whether he's going to show up in Remake. I'm like, pull the Band-Aid. Get it over with. I'm just so sick of hearing over and over and over, like as a joke or whatever, he's coming anytime now. I say get it over with. If they're gonna do it, then just do it. Yeah. So. Okay. I do have one positive thing to say about Genesis, and I feel like it was not on purpose. I feel like this was not the intention. He is such a loser compared to Sephiroth. He's such a pathetic loser compared to Sephiroth that it almost feels like that's the intention. Like there's a bit of misdirect. Like you think he's Sephiroth's rival, and it's like, bitch, no, you don't come even close. So he's kind of like a jobber to prop up Sephiroth. Because at the end of the day, even his creator, Hollander, Hojo talks shit about him. Of like, man, you're a shitty scientist, and your dumb anime boy does not compare to my anime boy. So I find that kind of funny. But I don't think that was the intention. I think they did all that Loveless crap, and they thought that was cool. Maybe. And to this day, I don't know what the hell Loveless is. I try to read all the verses, and I cannot make sense of that story. Like, as a fictional story that Genesis is super into, and it was made into a play and is also a Bible? Like it's a prophecy? And I'm trying to figure out how it ties into Final Fantasy VII itself. Like, is it supposed to tie into the story of Cloud and company? But apparently no, it ties into these guys, the story of Crisis Core. Head hurt. They don't even explain. It's a love tragedy. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that the structure of the story doesn't make sense. And that like the final verse is missing, so it's an incomplete story. It's like, I don't know if there's supposed to be a meta narrative there, like them saying the story of Final Fantasy VII is not complete. I don't know. And I also don't know what even he wanted to do at the end, because there's that whole thing about he meets Minerva, and I'm still not entirely sure if that was real or a dream, or if Minerva's even a real thing. And frankly, I'd be happier with Minerva not being part of the canon. Final Fantasy VII's world does not need a goddess. Like, the live stream is already a thing. We don't need a god at the end. Ugh. Poor little remnant. I will say this. I still hold on to the belief that the Genesis we see at the end of Dirge of Cerberus is not the same Genesis. That it's maybe Nero occupying his body. But that's my theory, and I don't know if they're ever gonna get into it. I don't know if they'll ever address that. If we're ever gonna get the resolution to that cliffhanger, it could just be that they're just gonna sweep it under the rug. They're just gonna be like, pretend it didn't happen. Or Genesis comes back in Remake, and we kill him, and that's the end of that timeline. That's the end of that lingering thread. Similarly, I don't really got a lot to say about Lazard here. Only that the concept, the revelation about him, spoilers, it turns out he's President Shinra's bastard son. And that's interesting. But the thing, especially because it's something that kind of was alluded to in the original game, that President Shinra slept around. So it was nice getting that confirmation that there's a Shinra bastard running around. But the thing is, oh, you didn't know that? Yeah. They never say it out loud, but it becomes very obvious if you read like the emails and stuff. That Lazard's whole thing is that he wanted revenge on Shinra because, you know, I'm a bastard baby and my daddy abandoned me. That's his whole deal. You know, I used to think Cloud was a bastard son. Just because, you know, him and Rufus have blonde hair. But that got debunked, so... yeah. But the other thing is that they took the concept of the bastard son and made it more interesting with a more interesting character in this book. Like here's Evan. He's another bastard son. And his stuff with Rufus is a lot more interesting. So they kind of took the idea here and did a better job with it here. And I'm showing you this because there might be a non-zero chance this guy shows up in Remake because his friends show up in Remake. Kyrie and Leslie. So maybe Evan gets an appearance. Wouldn't surprise me. So, you know, I thought that was kind of interesting, but ultimately, yeah, sure. And now for my next controversial take. Y'all have been really hard for Cisne. I think she's overrated. Okay, that doesn't mean she's bad. I think she's neat. I just don't have the fervor of people who just desperately want her to come back. I don't quite get it. She's cute and nice. Has a pretty nice design, but honestly, I would have much preferred they do more with Elena than make than Cisne being the stand-in. Well, no reason we can't have both. Now, I like her interactions with Zack. Yeah, her relationship with Zack. Yeah, they were. It was nice. Yeah, I don't mind she shows up. I think it would be cool, and she most likely will, because people have been begging for her forever. Hey, you know what? I just noticed she has a little number 7 here. That's kind of funny. But yeah. At the end of the day, it's like I don't have super strong feelings for Cisne. And frankly, I kind of lump her together with the other Turks here. Because, yeah, for those who don't know, this is where she came from. She's a reference to Before Crisis. And apparently her real name is Shuriken. So, if you're wondering where she came from. But, I'll be honest. There are way cooler looking Turks here that I would rather see instead. Especially this lady here, the sniper. And this not Tifa Turk over here. I would rather see either of these two than Cisne again. Everybody else I can take or leave. Like, we got Bargain Bin Reno, we got Anime Big Guy, and we got this mess right here with the hair. But this lady are pretty cool, and I'm just saying. But hey, you know what? Maybe we're gonna get all of them, because maybe they'll show up as optional bosses, because you see, this book here strongly implies there's more Turks than there are more Turks out there than what we know of. Like, not just Reno, Rude, Elena, and Seng. It comes up like constantly that there's other Turks that you're not seeing. So, sure, bring back Cisne, but show those other guys too. They deserve a spot. So. Nah. Almost here. Not quite, but almost. All right. Now, it's kind of weird I left such a pivotal party member here, but that's because we're talking about his own game here, so it only makes sense to leave him here. But I gotta give props. I still think it's pretty funny that. No, I'm thinking about it, but I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong. This is the only non-main character of a Final Fantasy to get his own game. And that's kind of crazy. The only non-main character to get his own game. Like, if you're going to say Yuna, no, Yuna's a main character. Vaughn is a main character. So those spin-offs don't count. I'm talking about, like, this is a side character, and he gets his own game. Tifa still hasn't gotten her own game. But somebody wanted to do Vincent May Cry. And, I was all for it. Especially because, there's so much that was left undeveloped about Vincent. Excuse me. So yeah, why would I not be interested in a Vincent game? So, that being said, it's also kind of weird because we learn a lot more about Vincent in Dirge of Cerberus, but at the same time, we don't really learn anything, and I don't know if that makes sense. it's kind of like they expanded on the stuff we already knew. Like, we already had a pretty good grasp of what his personality is and his history. So, it's just a lot of Vincent fan service, which is, cool. Like, you get to see him as he was as a Turk. You get those flashbacks and all that. It's not revealing anything that we didn't already know about him. So, it's just Vincent fan service. Which I'm fine with. Now, he does lose his points for losing his cool monster forms and getting a not quite as cool monster form in Dirge. Not a big fan of the devil form he got in that game. But that aside, it's a solid portrayal of Vincent. And it's really, all it is just more Vincent. Even if he's not necessarily, they're not necessarily giving you any big revelations. Although I will say, I really thought they were going to reveal that Vincent was Sephiroth's father all along. Because there's a moment in that game where it really looked like they were going to reveal that, but then it didn't happen. Because there's this moment where he's having like a real sweet scene with Lucrezia, like an actual like romantic moment and all that. Let me see if I can find it. Give me a sec here. I'll get to it. Don't worry. I have a pretty good memory. Ah, okay. Yeah, there's this whole thing that they kind of, yeah. Like, it kind of reminds me of the big Cloud Tifa moment. But maybe it's just me. Like the framing of it, the framing of it. So, I really thought this is where they were going to drop the ball, or at least strongly hint that Vincent was actually the one who conceived Sephiroth. And, honestly, would have made more sense than her ending up with Hojo. But, maybe that's still a possibility for remakes, so. Yep. We're almost at the end, folks. And believe me, I'm dying to get there. But we're almost there. Let me get my thoughts together here. All right. Okay, so hi, it's me, the one and only Deep Ground defender. I'm gonna just come out and say I think Deep Ground is cool. I think the Deep Ground soldiers are cool. I think it's a cool concept. Not the best utilized, but I think conceptually, I like these guys. I like these guys because they're Vincent's Foxhound. They're Vincent's gung-ho guns. But I also conceptually like the idea that Shinra is such a mismanaged company with so many dirty secrets and experiments that, yeah, of course they would have a bunch of secret super soldiers that are just monsters, and they just shove them in a basement and just lock them under a big door. Here are some guys who just wanna who are just murderous psychopaths, and they lock them up in a door and forget all about them. And I think that's legitimately funny, but also like synonymous of of Shinra. It's like, yeah, makes total sense. I mean, the fact that they come back in remake, that they actually get integrated to remake, it's like, I'm glad they did not abandon the idea. And also, hey, I like deep characters and all that, but I still appreciate that the whole thing with Deep Ground is they just really love murder. That's their whole thing. It's like, oh man, I love murder. Hey bro, you love murder? Yeah bro, I love murder. I can't wait to shoot some kids in the face. Yeah, murder! and you know, it's some of the most brutal moments in Dirge of Cerberus. Like, they show up in front of a party, a crowded like festival, and they just open fire. A child dies in Dirge of Cerberus. A child and a bunch of other people, they get thrown into a barrel and thrown into a goop monster. These guys are ruthless. That's just you know, and I love how that just carries in remake, where they show up and their introductory line is "Commence the cleansing." It's like, yeah, these are just a bunch of psychopaths. So I kind of put them all in the same spot. So okay. No, I'm judging them by their original game, so I would put these guys up in remake, but anyway, yeah, sure. Weiss goes here because it turns out he's dead for it turns out he's actually dead for most of Dirge of Cerberus. He's actually a corpse that gets puppeted by Hojo. But I think Nero is cooler. But again, this is within the Dirge of Cerberus, so I kind of put them all in the same spot. They're all in the same rank here. The one exception being Shulk. Shulk gets a bit more. Like, I like Shulk. I mainly like that she's just so sarcastic and smarmy. I like that she becomes like Vincent's codec buddy. Actually answering the phone and calling him Mr. Valentine. I like all that. I like how rigid she is. I like that she like legitimately like pisses off Yuffie. There's a bit where, let me see if I can even find it. Hang on a tick. Yeah, it's right here. Shulk is talking smack about an ally of theirs, and Yuffie's like, bitch. And also, yeah, this is Yuffie's worst fit. Not a big fan of this going on here. And the more I look at it, this whole, I don't even know what's going on with this belt thing here. Yeah. Come on, Yuffie, you can do so much better. So anyway, yeah, I like Shulk. She's got a little bit more going on, and I actually would have been okay with her being the new third girl. I think her hanging out with Tifa and Yuffie would have been like, could have been something there. So Shulk gets now. There is the bit where Shulk has the memories of Lucrezia implanted in her, and that causes her to share the feelings that Lucrezia had for Vincent. So I'm like, yeah, let's pretend that didn't happen. Please, let's never bring that up again. Nah. Nah. Let's ignore that one. Let's forget that happened. Okay, we got 2 left. I can do this. Streaming's hard, but fun and rewarding. But we got 2 left. Okay, so Zack. I can summarize this pretty well. Okay. You know those memes? You know that one meme where it's a screenshot where they put like 2 characters together, like let's say Batman and Superman? And the meme is why I like Batman, and it's a giant block of text that is unreadable. And then why I like Superman, he's nice. This is what I would use for Cloud and Zack. Cloud, big long stretch of text. Zack, he's nice. Zack is the shonen protagonist of Final Fantasy VII. And I'm not saying that to say that he's not deep, but at the same time, he's not that deep and he doesn't need to be. Because his whole thing is that he's big, he's dumb, and he's likable. And that really says a lot, honestly, because freaking Sephiroth likes him. Sung, the most like super serious business of the Turks, likes him. Sung actually tells Cisne, like, I want you to be the one to retrieve Zack because I want him back alive because Zack is my friend. He is the most normal he's the most normal person. He's just a goofball. But that's why he hits it off so well with Aerith. Like, Aerith and Zack are perfect for each other. I don't know if you've seen those fan arts that draw the 2 of them as like from that movie what's it called? The Rapunzel one. And it's such a perfect fit. And yeah. And you know what? I think that's all that needs to be said. He's nice. He is nice, and he is a sweet boy, and you will... It's the one moment that makes playing all of Crisis Core worth it, because you will goddamn feel it at the end. It's legitimately heartbroken. I really would have wanted more interactions with him, with Aerith and Cloud. No, you know what? With all of them. So, they do the Star Wars thing where he interacts with other characters. Like, he meets baby Yuffie. And you would think that's dumb, but it's actually endearing. It's actually, like, really cute and funny. To the point that I really wish that both Yuffie and Tifa were DMVs in his memory wheel. Like, he meets Reno and Rude once, and they become part of his memory thing. So, I would have liked more than that. So, it's funny because there's the possibility he's going to meet the other characters in Remake, and it's like, I don't want that to happen, but every so often I stop and think about it. It's like, would be kind of nice. Yeah, it's weird, because it's like, I love Zack here and his other appearances, but I also want very little of Zack in Remake. Like, as little as possible. Because I don't want him to go too off the rails, because this is Cloud and the crew's story, and there's still so much of their story they have to do. I don't want it to be bogged down with too much Zack. I would rather that maybe you get 3 Zack sequences at most, but that's me. Maybe I'll change my mind when I see what they do with it, but yeah. No, I know I don't got a lot to say, but it's true. It's like, yeah, he's nice, and he's just fun. Okay, so we got one more left. Got one more left. Okay. So, okay. I don't know why I'm struggling so much here. Mainly because it's like, where's the picture? I can't find it. Here we go. Nah, it wasn't what I was looking for. Good enough. Sure, good enough. Okay. So, it's around this time when people start to say that they are kind of overdoing it with Sephiroth. Like, pretty much everybody got hyped when he came back in Advent Children, but then he started to constantly show up in other stuff like Dissidia, Kingdom Hearts, pretty much anything the Cloud is in. It's like, yeah, of course Sephiroth is in there. And, you know, it's at the point where people are saying that he's both being overused and also he's being diluted down as just Cloud's enemy. Cloud's sword enemy he has to constantly fight and have anime fights with. And people think that brought down Sephiroth, where he was more effective as a vague, creepy, you know. A lot of people feel that like the mystery of Sephiroth was diluted because of his constant appearances in Advent Children and all that. You want to know my opinion? I disagree. What we got is the further evolution of what I was saying before with Sephiroth before, where they established that Sephiroth is Cloud's enemy first and foremost, but more than anything, it nails down what my personal interpretation of Sephiroth. For me, Sephiroth represents trauma. Sephiroth is the living manifestation of Cloud's trauma. He is persistently, like, haunting Cloud even in death. Like, the idea that not even death can bring down Sephiroth. And in fact, his very existence is tied to Cloud's trauma. Like, Sephiroth is able to maintain his very existence just because Cloud can't entirely let him go. And I think that makes him just a way more effective and deeply personal villain than just your typical, I want to rule the world with my space mom and all that stuff. Like, I almost feel like he's abandoned that, or at least he's kind of put on the side. It's like, no, priority one is showing up on Cloud's birthday, knocking on the window, and just waving. That level of kind of pettiness. Like, they even said, like, they kind of admitted that Sephiroth followed Cloud into Smash Brothers. He specifically heard Cloud was in Smash Brothers and he crashed the Smash Brothers party. It's like, yeah. I love that. And, you know, they've taken the idea and taken it even further with Remake, you know? It's like straight up, my existence is tied to yours. I don't even want you to die. I just want you to keep on being miserable and thinking of me so that I may maintain my existence. And I just think that makes him a way more interesting villain. Also, Advent One-Winged Angel is maybe the single best piece of music that Nobuo Uematsu has ever made. Not only does it trump the original One-Winged Angel, it's still the best version of it, and I've been hearing it on repeat for years. It's such a banger, perfect song. So yeah, I like my Sephiroth as a trauma ghost, as a living metaphor. And that's why it's my personal hope that they kind of like what they did with the original game, where the final battle with Cloud and Sephiroth is more of a spiritual battle of expunging Sephiroth from Cloud's subconscious. And I kind of want to call back to that. I basically want it to be that Cloud makes Sephiroth give up, or he takes him down, and it's like Cloud will turn his back, and he's like, I'm not going to think about you anymore. You're in my past, and I'm going to move forward, and I'm done thinking about you, and Sephiroth just fades away. Kind of like the ending to Nightmare on Elm Street, sure, but I think that would be like the best, most appropriate way to put an end forever of the conflict between these two. Also, still praying for the day that Tifa gets some hits in, because she's got skin in the game. This guy has ruined her life just as much as he's ruined Cloud's life. These two deserve some sort of like face-off. You know, it's like, bitch, you killed my dad, you know, don't forget about me. So we did. I went through it, and I'll be honest, it was a lot more exhausting than the last one. Probably because I had, I see why. Way more characters. I overdid it here. And still got one more to go here. This is going to be a lot shorter. But yeah, this was a way bigger one than I expected. But I'm glad I went through it. So for those, yeah, thank you all for sticking with me. I very much appreciate that I went through this whole thing. So okay, final recap. Living Legacy. It's like, yeah, Tifa's still the best. Not every appearance is 1-to-1 perfect. You know, there's a couple of occasions where they you know, wanted her to have a little bit more. I didn't like some of the bits where they kind of, like in Dissidia, where they give her jiggle physics and she's the only one who has jiggle physics in that game, even though there's other ladies like Cloud of Darkness and all that who barely have anything supporting. But it's like, now we got to give it to Tifa, so wasn't a big fan of that. And Crisis Core also had a skeevy like line that thankfully they took out, that they've retconned. It's like, you know, but otherwise they've been consistent with their characters. So you know, Zack, sweet boy Zack, kind of like Vivi, you know, precious boy. He deserves happiness. Sephiroth, big fan. He's constantly overused, but still a big fan of Trauma Ghost, you know. Pretty much there's never been an occasion where Sephiroth shows up and I'm not a little bit excited. Like, come on. That Smash Brothers reveal, that was a pop-off. Still want him back in Kingdom Hearts. Cloud and him still need to finish the fight in Kingdom Hearts. Cloud here, yeah, like I said, they took this version of him and they overused it in areas where it didn't make sense, so thankfully they've overcorrected that. Same thing with Aerith. They stripped a lot of Aerith's personality, so that also was something that had to be corrected. Just happy that Yuffie got more. Just straight up, just Yuffie got more, and she still needed way more, but I'm glad she got more. Barrett, unfortunately, not much, you know, beyond a short story and such. Wish he also got more, but he's kind of relegated to cameo. Kadaj, very good one-time villain. Still would want a proper boss fight with him, but I do wish they stuck with the original story plan for him. Also, I recommend, again, if you want more Kadaj, spoiler, he's in this book. And we actually get a little more idea of what he is. Like, that's not even his true form. His true form is he's probably just a gross Genova bug monster. But here he kind of assumes this form. Kadaj isn't even his real name. It's a name he took off a dead body. So that's interesting. Rufus, they did some very interesting things with him, and I would actually, felt it was a good progression of the character. Vincent is just more Vincent, so, more of a cool factor than anything else, but still. Shulk, I personally liked. I really like that they brought her back for World of Final Fantasy. I wouldn't mind seeing a little more of Shulk. Sid, Red, unfortunately, background characters, not really a lot they do there. There is a real neat thing about Red's short story in this book, where they reveal that Red constantly teeters between acting like a human and acting like a beast. So there's periods of his life where he's just going to go full unga bunga, I'm a beast. And, I think that's interesting. The idea that he struggles, an animal that struggles with his intelligence, I think that's a cool idea. We'd like to see more of that. Reeve, they do some very interesting things with after Advent Children, but I have no idea if they're ever going to get back to that. Marlene, also, again, mostly carried by her relationships with the others. Denzel, also, interesting stuff they do with him. I don't ever want him to be a protagonist, but maybe I would not be against the idea of a time skip Denzel, or makes an appearance in Remake. Lots fun fight. Hate that he wins the fight. Reno, Rude, just fun characters. Comic relief, not much to say there. And Gilles, his best moments are with Zack. Everything else is kind of eh. I do like the story that his father literally killed himself, that his father literally died to make the Buster Sword for him. Like, he had to take on several loans to pay for this guy's stupidly gigantic sword, and then he had to pay off by doing several jobs, and he worked himself to death. I thought that was funny. I mean, not funny, but yeah, I mean. Lizard, a neat concept of being a bastard son that was handled a lot better in this book. Cisne, she's okay. I still think she's a little overrated, but I would not be against seeing her again, and we most likely will see her again. The Deep Ground Soldiers are fun. They're way more fun than people give them credit for. And, the rest down here. Kate Sith, nothing really stand out. Yazoo, extremely wasted opportunity not having him and Vincent square off. Sung and Elena, it's like, man, these two need a break, I swear. I mean, Sung's handled a little bit better in Crisis Core, but otherwise, yeah. And this guy. Something, whatever the dawn may come, the gift of the goddess, yada yada yada. Well, I don't know. Gak sure got his money, I guess. Alright. That's it. Now, we have one more tier left. We have one more ranking here to do. And I'd like to say it's going to be tomorrow, but it's really going to depend on several factors. Is the demo going to be available tomorrow for Rebirth? Is there going to be leaks that's going to make me want to avoid the internet? Either way, I need to get this done. So I'm going to say tentatively it'll be tomorrow. Unless the demo comes out, in which case, no, sorry, I'm dedicating my night to the demo, and it'll be the night after. So, if you follow me on social media, on Twitter or whatever, I will announce the next time I do this. But otherwise, thank you all once again for watching. And I swear I will get through this. I will survive. I can do it. So, good night, y'all. Thank you for coming in.